So I'll introduce myself a little bit more.
Okay.
So I'm a first-year MBA student at St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
My undergraduate was in childhood education, and I had a minor in social justice theory. So that's really where I grew my love for solving issues for social problems, and really learned about it through service and working directly with people, and how fundraising and grants and scholarships can really help these programs grow. So within my choice to go into MBA program, I really wanted to learn management techniques and ways to analyze finances, so that possibly one day I could work for a company that creates good change.
Excellent. Okay.
So my name is Diana. I'm actually a junior in my undergrad at St. John's University. I go to the one in Queens campus. Sorry. I'm a finance major, and I'm going into the MBA program. I just started this semester, since I'm a semester ahead. So I just started. So far, it's been great. So my reason to going into finance, most people go for the money and all that. That wasn't one of my reasons, but my main reason, my end goal for me to feel fulfilled, is to create a program where students are able to get free SAT prep, just college advice, high school advice, but mostly this program focuses on people for low income students, because that's where I grew up, in a low income neighborhood. And especially, it's very common within Hispanics. We're not aware of high schools, where to go, and what high schools to go, what colleges to go, where to apply. I didn't even know about the SAT prep until sophomore year, if I'm being honest myself. I started prepping super late, but I got lucky and managed to get a good score, get into St. John's. But not everyone gets lucky. Not everyone has my story. So that's my way of giving back. So I thought going into finance, knowing how to manage money, the corporate world, and how to incorporate that into the program. That is my end goal as me as a person. That's what I went into finance for. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet both of you, and we're happy to host you here today.
Very much.
Thank you.
And so, would you like I could start out my first?
Sure.
And actually, first, I just wanted to get to know a little bit more about you.
I'm Jordan Minshew. I work here at the Nicotra group. I went to college at Staten Island for college, business management major. And my last semester of college, I actually interned here. So I interned for Christine. And from there, I knew I wanted to be in hospitality in some aspect. So she said, just get your foot in the door. That's the best way to start. So I worked at the front desk of the Hilton Garden Inn for about a year or so. And then just last year is when the position opened up here, and I became full-time.
Congratulations.
And I'm Christine Gorlisi, and I'm the Chief of Staff to Lois and Richard Nicotra, who founded the Nicotra Group 43 years ago today. Today is our anniversary day. An auspicious day. They started a franchise called Everything Yogurt. Mr. Nicotra got the idea for the franchise in his senior class at St. John's University. Wow. His professor asked him to asked the whole class to think of some aspect of a field that was not being met in the consumer field, and he thought of frozen yogurt and healthy fast food, which was not the norm at the time. At the time, you got a burger and you got fries, and that was your option. But he thought, well, what if we could do salads and healthy options and frozen yogurt? So they were the first weighted frozen yogurt franchise, and they expanded from their first store on Wall Street to 250 franchises around the world. Wow. So I came to work for them about 10 years ago, first in the capacity to start and direct their family foundation called the Lois and Richard Nicotra Foundation. I helped them open their social enterprise eatery, which I know we're going to talk about, which is called the Commons Cafe. And then later, I took on a different role in the for-profit aspect of their real estate and hospitality company, and that's as their chief of staff. So there's 3 components to the Nicotra Group. There's real estate, there's the philanthropy, and there's the hospitality.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. And of course, a double alumna from St. John's University. I have my undergraduate and my master's degree from St. John's.
It's really great to be in your presence,
You're
and then
welcome.
I feel
I think you might have shut. I'm not sure.
Yes. Let me check.
I think that it's just my Wi-Fi. I think it's still going.
Oh, okay, great.
Awesome.
So it was really nice to get to know about your role in the Nicotra group.
Thank you.
Can you describe to me a high point or a great experience that made you feel like very excited, alive, and engaged within this organization?
Well, actually, we just had a really exciting experience where Facebook invited us to fly to California because they recognized the Commons Cafe and the Nicotra's social enterprise efforts as a community builder. That was their term for it, meaning that we have a positive impact on our local community. So they found us on social media. We did.
Wow.
You can apply for this wonderful honor. I got a pop-up message in late summer, early fall.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, would you like to apply for this wonderful thing through Facebook, and we'll fly you to California? And I thought, well, that's spam. I'm hiding that. I don't believe in that, And then it happened 2 or 3 more times, and finally I contacted a friend of mine who works at Facebook, and I said, is this real? It's called a community summit. What is this? And she said, apply right now. You should apply.
Wow.
So I did, and we went through a series of interviews and a final phone interview, and then they selected us, and they flew 2 members of the Nicotra's team out to California. We got to meet Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, and they schooled us for 3 days on social media, great techniques, what Facebook has next, and also how to share the message of using social media to build community. So the traditional answer would be, well, I love the day we get the big checkout. I love to give that out, but I think that the idea that we could share a concept and share the idea of how to community build and make our community stronger is perhaps the Nicotra's biggest opportunity for a significant legacy on Staten Island.
That is great, and I understand the great impact that social media can have. And I think it is similar to the project that we're working on called Aim to Flourish. So it's a platform for students to share the untold stories of businesses that are doing good for the community. Okay. So with this meeting that we're having today, we're going to write after we meet with you, we're going to write your story and make it as a model for other businesses to emulate and to embrace, and possibly a business student will be inspired to create change and use your model as a guideline and inspiration.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. We're also working with the Newman's Own Foundation, and they're doing something similar, so you might want to check out their website. Are you familiar with Newman's Own Foundation?
No, I'm not.
Paul Newman was an actor, an Academy Award-winning actor, but he also established a social enterprise company called Newman's Own, and they have a Newman's Own Foundation connected to the company. They, too, give 100% of the profits to do good things. Their mission is a little bit different in terms of who they're doing the good things for, but it's a social enterprise, and they've gathered a number of social enterprise companies. They've invited us, so we've been working with them for probably about 7 or 8 years now to kind of come up with best practices for social enterprises. Because social enterprises can be big, they can be small, it really could be any size company, but it's about setting up legally and accounting-wise, financially, to make sure you're maximizing the profit so that you're actually able to do what you want to do.
And just by reading more about the Nicotra group, I've been learning about so many more social enterprises that are on Staten Island. On Your Mark, it's a restaurant. Right. I believe it's the employees are individuals with disabilities, and then all the profits that they make go back into the programming for these individuals.
So that's set up a little bit different, but it's not exactly a social enterprise, but it's a concept that we align with very well. And I love seeing that they've done things like job training, which is terrific, and they're giving kind of a landing spot for all of the clients who go through their programming. I love dining at On Your Mark. It's right near my house. And also the Harvest Cafe. Are you familiar with the Harvest Cafe?
I've heard about it.
So the Harvest Cafe is in Newdorp. So it's, again, a very similar, very, very similar enterprise. The challenge with a social enterprise is that it's not a nonprofit. So the two eateries I mentioned are nonprofit organizations, and a social enterprise is not set up as a nonprofit. It's either a limited liability company or a B Corp. So the structure is a little different, and it's also an opportunity for a for-profit company to at some point transition to be social enterprise. Maybe someone later in life says, I love what I do, but now I want to give back a little bit more. And they can transition their company. So that's kind of what we're exploring with the Newman's Own people.
Okay. You were talking before how you had different scholarships throughout your college career.
I did.
And how that I'm assuming that you felt more passionate about like giving
Absolutely.
back. But like, how does that relate you with the foundation? Like, how did you feel like that? Like, do you think that helped you like to understand the people that are being helped by the foundation? Like, did that give you like a connection with them, like a personal connection?
Sure. You know what? I think every experience in life helps you to connect with other people. So, you know, when I was 14, I worked in a bakery, and that I think was my best schooling as far, you know, not certainly not in a classroom, but my best schooling as far as what hospitality takes. You have to be competent, you have to be accurate, you have to be friendly. There's so many things that you learn. So certainly getting scholarships, you know, with every letter you receive that says you've been recognized and you're receiving a scholarship. And I think certainly need-based scholarships are very important, but I also think that performance-based scholarships are just as important. So because you achieved a 90 in your college or in high school or a 95, we're giving you this compensation scholarship so because we want you. You know, I think that makes a student stand up a little straighter. I think that it makes you feel seen. Everybody wants to feel seen. And I also think it makes you feel like someone's in your corner. And in a world that feels very scary and big and uncertain, and especially, you know, you expressed a background where maybe you're the first generation to go to college. I'm not saying that you are, but it sounds like you are.
Yeah, the first one.
You know, I think that especially for a first-generation college student to be encouraged by a stranger, it's so unexpected. You know, it feels like such a blessing. So what the Nicotras have done is they are giving funds away to the community in terms of our nonprofit grants, but they're also helping their employees. So their employees' children and grandchildren can apply for a scholarship. They can get a scholarship every year they're in higher education. From the first year they're a freshman for their BA, right through their doctorate if they want to go through, or through their JD. So we have a number of employees who their children or grandchildren are the first generation pursuing higher education. So it's a special opportunity. It's life-changing to be able to get that degree. And, you know, not everybody needs or should pursue a degree, but it's wonderful. It's wonderful to help their children and grandchildren of the employees do that. And the Nicotras always tell their employees that they want their lives to be better because they worked for them. That's powerful.
It is.
That is powerful.
A follow-up question: do you think that creates loyalty within the employees?
I think it creates loyalty. I don't think that that's the only thing that creates loyalty. We have a very special organization. You know, hospitality is exhausting. It's a 7-day a week, 24-hour a day. So I think there's a special bond that's here in the Nicotra companies, and that stems from Lois and Richard Nicotra. They are here 7 days a week. They are here. I won't say 24 hours a day, but it feels like they're here 20.
Very close.
So it's a number of things they do. They host luncheons twice a year to recognize employee anniversaries. They host 2 huge events every year. They host a summer event and a winter event where we can bring our families. And there's anywhere from 800 to, you know, almost 1,000 people who come to those 2 free events. So it's wonderful when you can involve your family and bring your family to somewhere where they know you spend a tremendous amount of time, and it involves then a loyalty of the family. So there's a lot of nice things that go on here. Mrs. Nicotra, so we have 500 employees. Wow. Mrs. Nicotra hand writes a birthday card to every single employee in our company.
So it creates that bond.
Yes. So I only bring that up because I know that a lot of us struggle to write a thank you note for one gift that we get. And there she is every month handwriting a birthday card to every single employee, and it's mailed to their home.
Wow.
It's really very touching.
Yeah, that is really so refreshing to hear, because it seems like the employees here at the Nicotra Group really feel fulfilled and have a quality workplace.
We do. We have a very good, I think, spirit that's here, and I think you need that, especially when you're in hospitality and real estate, because then it extends to your guests and your tenants.
Yes.
And Mr. and Mrs. Nicotra always say that our guests and our tenants are treated like royalty, and you can't extend that to someone else unless you feel respected. So in our company, respect and communication are the 2 most important things, and that comes right from Lois and Richard Nicotra.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what it was like creating the Nicotra Foundation?
Sure.
And who was involved in the initial founding of it?
Yes. Well, it's, totally from Mr. and Mrs. Nicotra's idea that they wanted to formalize their philanthropy. So they've been lifelong philanthropists. I think, from the time that they could first have a dollar to give away, they were certainly helping the community. But I don't think it was ever formalized, meaning it wasn't tracked. They have a nonprofit group that's been around for about 20 years called the Bloomfield Conservancy.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloomfield Conservancy is totally focused on the corporate park of Staten Island, keeping it green, filling it with art. But the concept for the Nicotra Foundation was to take their community philanthropy that really went from the North Shore to the South Shore to the West Shore to the East Shore of Staten Island and start to track not only what the gifts they were giving away, but the impact. So giving, coming from the world of development, having a donor feel the impact that they're having is very important. It's almost like when you get your financial statement from your bank or your financial analyst each month, you want to see, well, what is my investment yielding? So it's the same type of thing, and you have to treat philanthropy almost like it's an investment that you're making in the community, and then understand what profit, but really what yield you're getting from that investment. So the Nicotras came at the idea of their foundation to formalize their philanthropy, and at the same time, the Commons Cafe and the next eatery that we're doing, because later this year we're opening a second eatery called Pienza, that built on their experience in everything yogurt. So we just watched that video and we saw the history of 43 years ago that Lois and Richard Nicotra opened Everything Yogurt and started a worldwide franchise about weighted yogurt and healthy eating. The Commons Cafe allows them to kind of marry those two things. And in terms of starting a foundation, it's a 501c3. We worked closely with a team of attorneys and accountants, and then at the same time worked with that same team to start the social enterprise. Social enterprises, I feel a little like we're pioneers. It's not necessarily the norm right now. So you can't expect every tax professional or any legal professional to know what it's about, but we all learn together.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the next project, the Pienza?
Sure. So Pienza is the next eatery that they're going to do. It'll be another social enterprise eatery. So from the Commons Cafe, we've given away $800,000 so far, thanks to the Nicotras establishing the cafe with a $1.6 million gift. So the reason we're able to have so much profit so quickly is because the cafe opened not owing anyone anything.
Wow.
The cafe is also underwritten. So the cafe is on the Nicotra's land, so it does not pay rent. It doesn't pay electric. It doesn't pay marketing fees. We're employed by the for-profit entity. So we're really maximizing how we're doing business. We meet once a month to make sure our revenue is consistent or growing. And then the idea came to open the second eatery, which is going to be in a new building that they're building. They're building a building called Corporate Commons 3, 800,000 square feet, which is tremendous for Staten Island. It's tremendous for Manhattan. It's going to be a LEED certified building, meaning it's good for the environment. It's going to be 8 stories. On the top of it is going to have a rooftop garden, organic rooftop garden, 40,000 square feet. And located in the building will be Pienza. And that will allow us, I hope, and estimate to give away between $100,000 and $150,000 a year between the Commons Cafe and Pienza.
Wow. A follow-up question with what she asked. You were saying how $1.6 million were donated to the Commons Cafe. So, where did the money come from? Like donors, or specifically from?
The Nicotras funded every penny of what the cafe has done. And in the years when the cafe maybe fell a little short of the need that was presented, meaning that people applied for money and they applied for a certain amount and our revenue didn't quite reach, the Nicotras always came forward and, breached the gap and made a little bit of an extra gift so that we can make sure we were answering the need that was presented to us from Staten Island. So they've given to, about 400 nonprofit groups, but it's all from Lois and Richard Nicotra. And they built their career through Everything Yogurt and then later expanded to the corporate park. So I talked about one building. They have 1 million square feet of space. There's 13 buildings. So there's tenants. There's 17,000 people a day coming to South Avenue, which is where they've built their corporate park. And the corporate park has 400 acres. So they are the premier business people on Staten Island. They were voted, they're on Crain's New York's list of most influential Staten Islanders. They're in the top 2, second only to the borough president. They really are people who have invested heavily in Staten Island, and and built their life here. They always say they grew up, they were educated, and built their life within about a mile or two on Staten Island, which is really remarkable.
That is remarkable. And for the organizations that receive grants from the Commons Cafe, is it through the applications that are found online?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's entirely through the application. By design, we made the application very simple, so that it's easy for grantees to proceed with it, because a lot of them are very small nonprofit groups.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. So, like, how you're talking about the organization seems like you guys are very transparent. Like, you tell how it is. So, how do you manage that? How do you manage that organization is so transparent? Like, are there certain things that you guys keep to themselves, or do you guys just put it all out there on the table for the people to know?
Well, it's a privately held company, so I would say, not everything's out on the table. That's unrealistic. But I think with social enterprise, you do have to be very candid so that people understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. And I think that for the first year or two, we were cautious because we wanted to make sure people